I'm Commissioner Rick PD, LASO, and Michigan State Police for lspdfr. We are here to hold a press conference that issue just happened in this recent episode. We had a trooper, Sierra 122 trooper Steve Zahn, that is a newly hired officer, war veteran. He started his patrol as a state trooper here tonight in LSPD season 16, episode 14, worst scenarios. Unfortunately for him, this episode matched to his situation that he is in. He was out on patrol. Everything was going very smooth. Traffic stops, responding to multiple calls. But towards the end of his call, 0122 received a call of a possible apartment burglary at 1016 Elegant to a grocery store that has an apartment above it. The trooper arrived. He responded code 3 to this area, and then once he got close, he killed the sirens and emergency lights and went code 1. Now, what code 1 is when the officer responds to a scene and they don't want people to know, they'll cut everything off, turn everything off, even their headlights and taillights. So when they approach, they ain't gonna see who's pulling up, if it's a cop or not. So he approached the vehicle the building with code 1, parked outside, told dispatch he was on scene. He got out of his vehicle, drew his service weapon like he's supposed to, turned on the flashlight that's attached to his pistol, and he made entry to the store, making his way to the apartment. He made behind the counter, going through the door that leads to the upstairs apartment, where then Trooper Steve Zahn heard gunshots and radio dispatch shots fired. Steve proceeded to go upstairs to confront the suspect that is allegedly burgling this apartment, where he actually encountered the suspect trying to flee with a gun in his hand, reloading the gun, and then pointing at Trooper Steve Zahn, to my knowledge. I have not seen the body cam footage yet of the officer, which I will be here soon. That's when Trooper Steve Zahn opened fire on the suspect, where the suspect was then taken down. The threat was neutralized. So everyone knows, in the previous seasons, we really didn't have internal affairs officers to about season 13, season 14. Sorry. Season 13 or 14, we started initiating the Internal Affairs Agency, where they involve, in the investigation, officer involved shootings, complaints, if it's a serious complaint against officers. So, I'm going to read you the officer involved shooting report. It says, I state Sierra 122, Steve Zahn responded to 1016 Elegant Ave to an apartment for a attempted apartment burglary. When I arrived on the scene, I started to make way to the apartment, to the upstairs. When I say 122, Trooper Steve Zahn heard shots being fired, Trooper Steve radio shots fired and called for EMS. As Trooper Steve Zahn made it up to the upstairs, one male suspect came at me with a gun. Trooper Steve opened fire and took down the threat. And Trooper Steve Zahn requested for a shift supervisor. EMS was on scene. Now I'm going to stop there for a minute so everyone knows the shots fired from the suspect. He did take down one of the renters that rented the apartment upstairs from the store. One male was laying on the ground, not breathing at the time. Then Trooper Steve continued searching the apartment to make sure there was no other suspects, where he found another individual that also rented it, the apartment, was detained without incident and was later released by the evidence showing that he was a renter as well. But back to it, the suspect was pronounced DOA, dead on arrival, basically dead on scene, but we have to pronounce it dead on arrival. The first the renter that was shot down, he was revived by EMS, taken to a local hospital where he is suffering life-threatening injuries. We're hoping that he can make it while the Internal Affairs investigates this, because not just the Internal Affairs has to investigate, the commissioner, the department head, the officer involved, they have to also question the suspect's family. What was his motive? If you guys knew any motive, talk to the Winters to see what happened there. So it's going to be a full investigation now. This investigation could take up a couple days before it wraps up, before a ruling of the officer shooting is justified or not. I'm going to bring in our department director of state. He's going to give you an insight on Trooper Steve and how well he handled the situation. Director? Hi guys, my name is Director State 100 Thomas Kosis. I've been the assistant director for a couple months, and I'm the one that hired Steve Zahn on because I feel that he will have been fit for the company. The way he just handled himself shows that he is fit. How he went by the department policies. We have put in a new department policies in effect just recently where sergeants, lieutenants, captain, majors, even us, department heads, if we're out on patrol, we're involved in a shooting, we are placed on paid leave. But the only concept with the department head and assistant department head is that we may not be able to go out on patrol, but we still have to be working behind the scenes to make sure the department is running smoothly. No, we can't. If we are the department heads and assistant department heads are on paid leave for an officer involved shooting, we can't go out and act as a cop. We have to stay in the station and watch for complaints or any issues that arise because we are running the department. We have to make sure it's running smooth. But Steve served in the U.S. Marines for several years. He recently retired, went to college, and went to the police academy there up in Michigan. He decided to come to our lovely city to become a police officer for the first time of his career besides being in the military. So I should expect that the shooting to be ruled justified. But for some reason, it's not. Unfortunately for Steve Zahn, if it's ruled not justified, he will be terminated because we can't have that on the force. So, with that being said, I reviewed the scene, and Trooper Steve Zahn was placed on paid leave until pending IAA investigation. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Director. This will conclude this press conference for the officer involved shooting. We will give an update when there's more. When we have more information from Internal Affairs. Until then, God bless and Godspeed.